Okay, so I know that a number of people like myself have been trying to figure out how do you use Boutique for stitching 360 video without going through Mistika VR first. Now, I'm still learning this software, stumbling my way through it. One of the things I'm going to say actually straight up front is I know a lot of people are curious about the interface, shall we say. The reason I think the interface is the way it is this is basically, it's the software only cut down version of Ultima. And Ultima, of course, is a monster turnkey system costing, who knows, more than your house. Definitely more than your house. So, enough said. First thing first, let's set our project. New project. I've got mine set to 4K, 30 frames a second, video out. I don't got no I/O board, so this is just running on an i7. Actually, it's not an enormous system. It's a 4-core i7 with GTX 1080 Ti, 32 gig of RAM. So but it'll do it. It'll be a little lumpy, but it'll do it. So let's just call this test 001. Okay. So we've got that set now, and now I need to bring in my footage, which, there we go. I'm going to be using footage from the Jaunt One camera. What I've done, actually, these are the original clips. They're about 7 minutes long, way too big. What I thought I'd do first, though, is I'd show you, I've pulled out 20 seconds. Two different sets of 20 seconds from this footage. One is a direct copy, so it's just an FFmpeg copy, and the other one is a conversion to ProRes. And the reason being I've done this is to show you that if I bring in all of the original footage, basically it's an MP4, or it's an H.264 in a MOV container. We've got these in. Now, this can be a little bit of a pain. This is a bit of a pain. I hope we can do something about this, guys. So mouse wheel down to roll, to shrink the timeline sections. Everything has to be stacked vertically to work. Yeah, it all has to come down underneath. Now, this isn't too bad if you've got an Insta360 Pro or, GoPro rig or something like that. But I got 24 cameras here. It's a lot. It's a lot of movings. A lot of movings around. You can do it. I mean, I'm just dragging and dropping. Another way is you hold down Shift, arrow key down. Yeah, arrow key left and right don't do nothing, so you can't move them. But you can, if you just arrow down. I haven't yet figured out how to jump between clips with just the keyboard. So at the moment, I'm having to click on something, arrow down, so on and so on and so on. I'm just going to drag the rest of these down with the mouse, though. Okay, so rather than stacking them, I'm just dragging them all down. We need a little macro to just really do this, to drop everything on the timeline down like this, select them all, and align left. Cool, that'll do. Now, what I want to do, though, is show you down here in the record monitor. So I'm just going to drag this through. If I hit back play, yeah, that's not as bad as I thought. But if I drag through, look at that. So also, if I just make these big enough, where'd it go? Big enough. So mouse wheel, by the way, guys, mouse wheel up and down to scroll, to zoom in and out, and right mouse click to move everything around. So you'll see I'm moving the entire stage around. You can see it's a little jerky. As I say, it's not a huge system, this, but I think it's better if I go back to that same footage folder, and I'm going to find, these are the ones converted to ProRes. So I'm just going to bring these in. Something else I'm still figuring out, actually, is whether I need to group everything first, because I have found that, particularly with the Insta360 Pro, because everything's named the same, all the clips move around. When you grab one, they all move. I mean, like, you duplicate, it all moves. So let's just zoom out, zoom in, pull these go out so I can see them all. Do the same thing again, drag them down. You see, this is where a nice little... I mean, I know that, you know, there's not that many Jaunt Ones around. It's not going to be that... You know, it might just be something that if you've got a Jaunt One, you just have to put up with this because it's potentially a lot of effort just to accommodate a single camera. Mostly, you know, if you've got an Insta360, if you've got 6 or 8 camera modules like the Kandao or the Instas, you can just drag them down. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice just to be able to select them all and have them rack and stack instantly. Okay, so done. Left click, swipe over all of them rather, and align. Okay, cool. There we go. And I'm just going to zoom back in. Now, there we go. So you see that? Yeah. Nice and smooth. No problem. We come over here to the MP4 types, and it's no good. So delete. So the moral of the tale being, if you've got any H.264 based footages, convert them to ProRes first. It will make your life so much easier. Now I know it will take up a lot more space. I'm using in my FFmpeg script, I'm just using quality 2. I don't know what that equates to in normal ProRes conversion types. I only know it through FFmpeg. As we can see, look at that. See, nice and smooth, no problems at all. Great, that's what I want to work with. So let's stitch this lot together then. First thing you need to do, let's shrink it all down so we can see it. Grab them all, come down here to the effects panel and hit VR Stitch. That drops this new container, it's a node actually, and what it's doing is it's enveloping everything. So if I grab that and drag it off, you see what I mean? You can move this thing up and down. You cannot move it side to side. So you can't change its width, yeah, but you can change its height. And the height is what it's going to pipe through it. So we'll just drag that back on. Now we just double click it. So we come to the other side now, to the visual workstation side, I think it's called. The clue here is that there's only one camera. Now I know that this thing's got many more than that, and through using VR I know that it needs a lot more than that. So all we need to do then is really add in the number of cameras that we know that we have. So let's add another 23 to this stack, and then 20, which should give me 24. Right click in this panel to scroll up and down. There we go, we've got 24 cameras. Now there is a preset for the Jaunt, but I want to show you how to do this manually first. Because sometimes, you know what, you can actually get better results this way. So we just export the image set. We get this little notification that comes up telling us where they've gone. So they've gone to my Mistika folder, work test, export VR set. From there, open those up in PT GUI. Do your stitching, tweaking, whatever till you're happy with it. And once you're happy with that, save out your PT GUI file and then import stitch from here. Not that one, that won't work. So this one, it's in the export folder. I think this one worked quite nicely. Let's try it. There we go. So there we go. All nicely stitched. Now if I zoom in, you can see it's not bad. We've got a few little artifacts like there. It will probably be more useful like there if I zoom back out. And what I want to do is shift the yaw really. Now you can do it the normal Mistika VR way. Hold down Control, click and drag in the viewport. But I spent a lot of time making sure that this camera was perfectly level, so I don't want to risk disturbing that level. So I'm just going to right click down here, come up to output camera, open that one up and adjust the yaw to about 165, which brings my tree into the middle. I've now got my houses clustered there, and it's much easier for me to see where the issues are. So there we go, little artifact there, little artifact there. But overall, not too bad. So we're going to try and improve alignment offset, normal sort of operation. Not guaranteed to make things better. It's made this one better, but now this one's much worse. Okay, this one's much worse. We could try, let's try that one more time. If I don't like it, I'm just going to Ctrl Z back through this. Oh, that's better. That's better. Let's try improve alignment angles. Okay, little bit of a blip here, little bit there. We can probably fix that. I'm going to give it one more time on the alignment offsets. I don't see us getting any better than that. That looked worse, to be honest. Let's try alignment angles one more time. Nah, it's getting worse. Back twice. Okay, so we've got... I don't know why the red lines have suddenly gone. Let's turn that off and on again. There we go. Yeah, my monitors. Come back to the interface a moment. You really need two 1920 by 1200 monitors. I've got a 32-inch QHD, which is 2560 by 1440, and a really old 1680 something or other monitor. So it's kind of cramped on the smaller one. You can see that my buttons are cut off at the side here. There is actually a button here. Well, imagine a finger arrow pointing that way. It's off the side of the screen here. There's another button that I can't get to, which you use for the stereo work. But there's another way to do that, so I'll come to that in a bit. So these buttons down here are to do with the overlays. You can't see them on my monitor. I can barely see them, but I clicked around till I found them. I knew that they had to be there. It's just a question of finding it, yeah? So anyway, on with the stitch. What I want to do now, fold the output camera options in, bring in the main camera options and adjust the stitch feather. For this camera, I find around 5 seems to work okay. So we've got a little bit of ghosting now. So what we now want to do is to do the optical flow. That's under compose mode. Click that and go to OF warp nearest camera. There we go. Nice. All nicely stitched. It's all nice and tight. Yeah, I don't see any problems there. That's all looking good. That really is, well, that's the stitch done. That's it, you know, that fast. Okay, so let's now get rid of the damn tripod. That'll be nice. Basically, we need to separate out the part where the tripod is, paint over it, and then bring it back in, layering it over the top. That's the principle, okay? So the way we go about that is back over onto the main screen, bring up a node graph, and there's all our cameras, the many cameras. I'm just going to bring my stitch node to the middle. And what we want to do here then is to, first of all, we need to extract a view, don't we? So you might have done something similar in After Effects, you know, where you extract a rectilinear view and paint over it. Same principle. So in order to get that view, we just click VR View. There we go. So we've now got our VR view, and as we can see over here, it is indeed a rectilinear output. All we now need to do is define where the bit is that we want to get rid of. So I'm just keeping an eye on the shadow here, and I can see it's kind of pointing behind me. So I'm just going to pull the yaw round. It's over behind me somewhere, isn't it? Somewhere over here-ish. Now let's pull the pitch down. There it is. So we'll just stick that in there, and then I'm just going to roll it sideways. Tweak the pitch, and roll, and yaw. And I'm going to pull I really want this bit more in the middle. There we go, that's a bit, better. Ooh. That'll do. Screw it. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a bit. And the reason I want to zoom out is I may want to. I notice that you see I've got, if I zoom in with the mouse wheel up, I've got a very pale patch of grass here, and I've got some lumpy bits of grass here. And what I don't want is any kind of repeating patterns. So if I was to just paint cloning from here, this little lump, this little dark patches, these are potentially going to start to repeat. And they'll make it quite obvious what we've been doing. So I don't want to do that. Also, this pale patch, not so good. Thoughts. I'm going back to the VR Stitch a minute for the full view. I'm going to turn off these. I realise I haven't yet set my colour controls. So I'm going to just come to the colour gamma curve here and set that to jaunt, because that's what it is. And I'm going to do a match colour across all of these. To be honest, I didn't see a lot of difference by applying the jaunt curve. Let me just... linear, no? Oh, there is, yeah. You see this dark patch here, look? Unless that's just undone my match colour, I don't know. But there's definitely a dark patch there. Turn the jaunt on, turn the jaunt off. Yeah, so if you've got, if you've shot this on GoPros or something similar, definitely worth applying your gamma curve corrections first. Now we'll just jump back up to the VR view for the extracted view. You see how quick it is actually to switch from your full 360 view to your VR view. We now want to add a new node on top of that, which is going to be our paint node. So we come back over to the effects panel, grab our vector paint mode node, grab that, come back over to here, it's selected. Now you'll see that this here, there's not a lot to see. The paint node is hidden under this button. So just click that thing there, zoom out so I can see it. You can see that my brush is kind of tiny, so I'm going to scale that right up. That's a better size. And then I'm going to switch the brush type. At the moment, it's just going to paint this white color. That's all it's going to do. So I'm going to switch that to clone 4, which means it will clone the foreground. And then, like everything else that you've ever used that does cloning, it's just Alt-click to set the source, and then left-click to paint it out. So I'm just going to pick a few different sources to try and mix it up a bit. Obviously, I see how the color is going to start to change here. So grab a bit from this side. That's a bit different. I'm not sure if we can color correct this or not. I don't know. That's for another tutorial one day. I'm just going to try and mix this up a bit so that it's not too... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so once we've got that done, I'm just going to use my left and right mouse keys now. Keyboard keys, left and right. So there we go. That's what I was looking for. Different frame, not painted. Go back the other way. So I've painted out, basically, by the looks of it, the very final frame. I seem to be on the very final frame here. So what we need to do is to replicate this now to all other frames. And we do that with all shapes to all frames. Now, when I hit the arrow keys, we should see, there we go. They're moving there, yeah, but the image isn't moving. Cool. So, well, that's that done. All I need to do now is to relay this back on top of our original footage. And we do that back over in the node view. Zoom in a little bit with the mouse wheel up. Just grab that dot there. That's our input, and we want to duplicate this. So I'm going to hold down Alt, drag that out to a new one, stick in a new VR view, because this is what's going to paste it back in. Grab this thing and its output. So what we're doing is we're saying from my VR Stitch, extract this view, paint on top of it, stick it back on top of this thing, and this thing is going to paste it on top of this. So has it done that? Well, not yet. What we need to do with this then is to come back down to our options and set the direction to be the reverse of the previous. And there we go. It's all painted in. So job done on that one then. And I can scrub through the... I mean, we can't see a lot going. You can see some if I just come up here so you can tell that I'm not faking this. You see the movement in the trees there, yeah? There's traffic going by. But if I zoom back out, wherever we go, yeah. Now, the other thing to bear in mind, because this is a vector paint, what it's doing is kind of cloning whatever's underneath it. It's not a fixed in time thing. So if a shadow came out, it will correct all of that. Yeah, so the colors and everything will stay consistent with what's happening everywhere else. The one thing to be aware of, though, if you're doing this sort of like, you know, where there's a crowd of people around, you need to set up. If I could just come back to this one, imagine, for instance, if I've cloned from up here and something entered that shot, not as an overall like a cloud, but say a person walked into here, that would be cloned into this area. So bear that in mind. Make sure that you scrub through your footage. If you've got, you're shooting in the middle of a busy crowd or something like that, just make sure that you've got enough space where you're cloning from that nothing out of the ordinary enters that particular part of the shot that you're cloning from and to. Yeah? Okay, so let's go back to our final shot. There it is. That's the stitch all done. Really quick and simple, yeah? Next, we'll do a quick color grade on this. And we do that with this final output view here. I'm now just going to come to the color grade panel, yeah, and add that node on top of that. So on here then what we do is these ones work with the left click on the balls, which will just alter the the color of it. So darks, mediums, lights. And what we want to do is I'm just going to right click on the outer wheel, dragging left and right. So left to darken, right to brighten. So I'm just going to darken that down a tad. I want that blue, that's for sure. I just want to warm the scene up ever so slightly. Midtones can stay as they are. Let's push the highlights up a little bit. Now you see what's happening here though. It's blowing the sun. I don't want that to happen. So although I'm maybe adjusting the contrast elsewhere, I'm blowing the sun. Now we can fix that using the pivot point. So I'm going to set the pivot point to say 80, play around with this. Likewise with this, left click, right click. Let me just bring up a scope actually so we can see what's going on. There we go. There's the sun right up there, blowing out this top part. So I'm just going to right click and drag that thing back down so we've got it better under control. About there. That'll do. And the saturation we can tweak, push that right up, but that's way too much, isn't it? It's just like super saturated. I like the sky, but clearly the grass is too much. So what I'm going to do is just do that one separately. Let's pull that. I just want a bit more colour in the grass. That's enough. And what I'm going to do there then is come to the... Actually, I'm going to add another layer to do the sky separately. So let's do arse. Add layer. And on this one, we'll come to Kia, highlight. This one is... It's a slightly tricky thing to figure out. It's a right click in here. I'm sure it's a right click in here. No, yeah, left click is altering the direction. Right click, push up, left, no, middle click. There we go, middle click. Why is that doing that then? Okay, that is working. I just need to figure out how to do it properly. Middle click. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. There we go. So pulling that one down. This. No. Okay. Pull that one that way. that one that way. No, too much tree. We don't want that. That's something, isn't it? That's something. Right, okay. Except it's the wrong way round. So I'll swivel that thing round. Cool. That works. Let's just put a little tad blur on there. Alrighty, nice. Now we've got just the sky. That's all I wanted. I'm going to come now to the fixed ranges and push a little bit more. What is that? It's sort of purpley blue, isn't it? Well, we'll have a bit of that. Maybe a bit of... Ooh, that's nice. Bit of that. What's this one here do? Oh, yeah, we'll just darken that down a little bit. A bit of that one. That one? Oh, yeah, that one's nice. Nice. Pretty sky. Okay, a little bit. Yeah. Okay, turn off the highlight, and now we've got our sky fixed. Here's the thing. I don't know how to turn this off. If I want to turn this off and see it without that, not sure yet. Gonna figure that one out. Anyway, there we go. There's a basic grade. I can turn off the grade completely. Yeah, and we can see what we've got there. But I'm not sure yet how to turn off individual components, layers within it. Well, that's something for another tutorial, isn't it? Okay, so there we go then. Job done. There's our stitch, completely manually done, in Boutique without going through Mistika VR first. Now, there's another way you can do this, and I'm going to show you that now. Let's put the node graph away, on how to do it using a camera preset. I wanted to show you this first because you might not have a camera preset, or you might decide that you'd rather do it fully manually. But let's do it another way then with the camera presets. So one of the things that I have found as well is if I select all of these, right, select all of these, Alt drag, I can make a duplicate. Cool. Thing is that if I then select one, you see how it selects the other one? So if I move, look, they both move. Not sure why that does that. But I can stop it doing that if I grab all of these up to the stitch. Come out. All of these up to the stitch and group them, which is under Edit, Group. Now, I think that should still work. So let's move that one up to there. Probably should have grouped them first. I'd forgotten about that when I was doing this. So I'm just going to move these up. I don't know if it makes any difference. It's just to tidy it. If I go to my color grade, yeah, it's all still there. It's all still good. Okay. What that does mean, though, is that if I grab these, funnily enough, if you grab them collectively, you can move them all. But if you grab them individually, it moves the other one. But when they're grouped, doesn't seem to. So that's cool. Okay, so now I'm going to stitch using a camera preset, the sort of presets that you would find in Mistika VR. And I'm going to do that by going to the media browser. And I stuck these into a folder called camera presets. You can download these, by the way, from the support forum on the SGO site. And I'm just going to bring in my Jaunt group, drag it to the desktop, and then just pop it over the... They look like they've... I'm just going to make sure they're lined up. So align, and these differences here is because I've been clicking around and I've moved the playhead for the individual clips. If you want them all lined up, for neatness' sake, just select everything, right-click, and then drag, and they'll all be lined up. Now I can pop that thing on there, tighten it up. Now you'll notice that, as I said before, you can't drag these things wider because it's based on time. So what you do is you just select a clip, come to the edit panel, do get duration, which pops it into the calculator, select your stitch and do set duration. There we go, nice and simple, job done. So now if I look in there, we can see, well, it's a very blurry image, but if I turn the, you see it's all set now, 16 cameras across the middle, 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. So that's fine. What I'm going to do at this point then is I'm going to group them this time. So this time then, we've got our stitch done, and what I want to do now is to actually make the stitch better. You can see it set it all up. I haven't needed to, use the yaw to move it around. The reason why this one's a bit blurry is because I need to go into it, don't I? If you've grouped them like this, and you need to go in, I need to get to the stitch node to make the edit. But now I've gone and grouped it. So what we do is you come down to the navigation panel, and you've got these buttons here, which is drop in and pop out. So we're going to drop into that. I can now see all of my stuff. Now I can click on the stitch. And what this is, the reason why this is so blurry is by default the feather is set to 50. It's way too big, so I'm going to drop that back down to 8. It's a bit better. And then we can do our align offsets, align the angles. See, it's not, to be honest, it's not as good. This is why you're often better off just doing a custom stitch in PT GUI, because it's just not quite, it's out, isn't it? Well, from there I'm going to show you the stereo output. Actually, I'm going to go back to the previous. Let's pop up out of there. Let's go back to this other one. Okay, and what I want to show you here is the stereo output. So like I said, on my monitor, there's a button that I can't see, but you can find it if you go to the record monitor menu and click stereo mode. You see these things now appear. From there I can go to black and white anaglyph, and I don't see anything other than black and white. The reason is that I need to drop into this, go to my stitch, and what I didn't do was set the cam spacing. So if you come across this when you're doing a manual stitch and you don't seem to have any stereo, make sure that you've set your camera spacing up to whatever it is. It's 22.5 for the Jaunt, it's 60 for the Insta Pro. I'll do one of these on the Insta Pro soon as well, actually. Now we can see that we've got our stereo. From here you can adjust your horizontal balance, your yaw, all the rest of the stuff. So let's just see if I can adjust all of them globally. Yeah, that worked. Now, of course, with this shot, I mean, everything's super far away, so you're not really going to get any stereo separation. You wouldn't want that kind of stereo separation on that. It's just going to look a little bit odd. So let's just pop that back to probably where it should be. But that's basically it. I'll do another one of these with the Insta360, and I'll show you how to do how to use the optical flow to get a better and tighter fit with the optical flow, because sometimes it can get a little bit swirly, and we don't like that. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. That was a quick and simple run through on how to stitch in Mistika Boutique without having to go through Mistika VR first. Thanks a lot for watching.